Welcome to the Sacred 8 Roadshow, where cosmic love meets conscious living.
We're Juji and Nikki, partners in life and purpose, and we're so glad you're here.
This podcast is a space for truth tellers, heart healers, and those walking the path of deep love and self-remembrance.
We'll explore human design, emotional wisdom, and the real work of conscious relationship.
And we're proudly sponsored by Hello Zia, your 24/7 AI relationship coach for healing, growth, and sacred love.
Let's dive in.
Hi guys, and welcome to a very special episode with our dear friend, Aurora.
Aurora Luna Star is an interdimensional channel guiding individuals through starseed Akashic readings, sound activations, and personal empowerment.
Through her channel, she connects with a ninth dimensional collective named Aum Ra Ha Nu, accessing light codes in the form of sound, messages, images, and light language.
Her mission is to help you embrace your fullest potential, acting as a catalyst for personal growth, transformation, and self-discovery.
This conversation was so inspiring. Please stay tuned till the very end for a channeled message for 2026.
We hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Aurora. So excited to have you here. We've been planning this interview. You were one of the very first people we knew we wanted to interview when we started this podcast. So it's been quite something in the making. We are so excited for you to be here. And we normally start with the same exact question for everyone. What was the catalyst for your awakening? How did this all begin? How did you become Aurora Luna Star?
That is such a wow question. Okay. So the first piece is to know that I have 9 near-death experiences by the time I was 5 years old. So even though I did go through an awakening process, the awareness of connecting with otherworldly beings started when I was really, really young. And I used to, even when I would go to sleep at night, I would be able to see interdimensionally, even with my regular eyes open. And that did start to shift once I was between 7 and 8 years old. But the feeling, like I'd say that one of my biggest gifts is that I'm clairsentient. The other would be claircognizant. And so the awareness of feeling energy was always there. And the awareness of also that we're all meant to walk each other home, or that we're here to all navigate being together in some way. Like this idea of peace on earth was always something in my heart. So even though that's not technically awakening, it was definitely, I would say like I had a leg up in a way, because even though I went through some ridiculous, colorful stuff in order to have some of these awarenesses, they were always deeply woven into my experience. So when I turned just about 30, I started learning Reiki, and I call Reiki the gateway drug. And it really is, because it tells you something about your energy. Like you go from understanding that you're a physical being navigating 3D life to understanding that you are a vibrational being. And that as vibration and energy, it knows no time and no space. Right. So these concepts were where I started to be like, wow, okay, this really makes sense. And of course, everything I do is kind of not all or nothing, but I am definitely someone who will drive the bus straight into the wall until I get the answers I want. So, so I really did, like I became a Reiki master teacher, and I became another healing modality master instructor. And like I just went into the deep, deep dive of spirituality, listening to all kinds of people and finding the ones that resonate, recognizing that the ones that resonated with me were all saying similar messages in a similar way with maybe a different feeling to it. So I'd say that at the age of 30 is when it really began. I also had a mentor that was a psychic medium. And I started to realize, even with my initial Reiki teacher, who was a really good friend of mine, that maybe there were some integrity pieces there, and I needed to move on the rest of my Reiki learning from someone who I felt was more of a teacher rather than a peer. Like it was a really gradual thing. And I have to say that even now, as I channel the Aum Ra Collective, they only came in a year and a half ago. And I've been doing facilitation for 10 years, right? So we're never done on this journey. And when I look back at the journey, I do notice a lot of the rungs on the ladder that I've been climbing, right? Or like I explain as we get to the top of the pyramid and then we start climbing the next one. My awareness simply is that I knew really from the beginning that we were all connected through some sort of warp and weft of creation. There's a lot of inherent things that were in my memory of being. I consider myself not just a starseed, but really kind of a hybrid. I kind of put my body together, even physically, to make sure that I wouldn't leave the planet, which I've done almost every single time I've been on this planet. My awareness through my Akashic records is that this is my first time making it to 50 in a body on Earth. And in doing so, collapsing timelines from the time-space continuum where there was a lot of suicide or murder or disease or all kinds of colorful experiences. So I would say that the awakening process almost happened without me realizing it, is the best way I can put it. It started off as just a deep curiosity and eventually became the way I live my life to the best of my ability. Human like everyone else, but still very much desiring to integrate more and more into the remembrance of the truth of who we are.
So no spidey sense moment.
Now I'd say I get so much more of that than I ever did through the journey itself. Not for nothing, I smoked a lot of pot. I drank a lot of alcohol. And this was before the journey for me, because it was understanding that, hindsight being 2020, that all that pot I was smoking was to numb out being such an empath and taking in everyone's energy, and also living a life that felt like zero alignment, right? Corporate America for 17 years, being told who I am, what I am, without really being able to identify that for myself in any way, shape, or form, whether it be religion or my family. And nobody meant any malintent with it, right? That's also my truth. It's not like my family was trying to put me down or that religion was trying to hurt me in some way. It's just belief systems. And these belief systems, in some ways, were empowering, but in most ways were actually extremely constrictive. They didn't allow me to be the expressive energy that I feel I can be now. Mm-hmm. And so I'm grateful for all of it, right? Because the entire journey is the purpose. Like I am aware that even though I get destination oriented at times myself, that we never reach a destination. The journey is the gift, is the point of all of this. And it's simply an opportunity for the soul to collect so much information and have such a rich experience, because I keep comparing it, saying like, if life was just so easy peasy, we'd all be binge watching, eating bonbons. Like there'd be no reason to expand into anything, because we'd just be comfortable in what is. And I'd say that a lot of my life was that way in a sense. But I think the reason for the pot, the alcohol, the food, the relationships that weren't even relationships, it was all to numb out the fact that something also didn't feel quite right. And finding that out, while very painful, because I had to now face my inner child and all the decisions I'd made up until that point, became such an incredible gift. I would not trade my life that I live in this moment for anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I ask because I feel like in my journey, I'm trying to create that clear connection to my higher self and to, the pure awareness. And I find myself so frustrated along the way, because I'm like, there's just something I'm not figuring out. Like, I know it's there. I know I can do it. But there's like a light switch that is just not working or something.
What I would invite you to lean into is that there's divine timing in everything, and that we are vibrational beings. And the more that we can choose excitement, the more that we can recognize that every single thing that happens in the quantum field is God. And that's the hardest pill for everyone to swallow. The hardest, right? Because everything that amazing that's happening is the source of all that is. Everything that's awful that's happening is the source of all that is. Source is getting to know itself through 8 billion people on our planet. It is the awareness of love and light as an expression of creation, right? It understands itself through that energy, but that's boring, right? So let's fractalize into a number I can't even fathom in my head of every different kind of life in every different kind of galaxy in a multiverse, right? So we're 8 billion people. That's not even all the life on this planet that is the consciousness of Source. And humanity in particular is an amalgam of lots of different energy put together into one. And so we're unique for Source to experience this way. And when we do remember that everything is Source, we stop fighting what we're experiencing in life and the world around us. So this is a tough topic to share, but I feel it's important. When we focus on something that's not right in society, we're actually creating more duality. However, we need to speak out against it or for something, because we cannot allow what's happening to simply happen without participating in the creation of something new. The important thing to know, though, is that these vicious cycles in creation have happened over and over. Like genocide has happened in lots of cultures. The inability to find harmony and peace in cultures over and over and over again. The greed, the lower vibrational frequencies that just keep trapping human consciousness in a belief system that it has to participate in a war or whatever the lower vibrational stuff feeds off of. The challenge is to remember that if we can find divine neutrality, now we can create a whole new paradigm. We can't really create the new paradigm from what we're experiencing, because what we're experiencing is on a loop. And so either you choose the left or the right, the black or the white, the this or the that, whatever it is, no matter how wrong it is, if we can become neutral to it rather than feel triggered by it, we start creating a potentiality for a whole new reality to take place, because every timeline is going to be built on emotion and thought. It's just the truth of the universe, of the holographic field. But again, if I were to say to you, just be neutral, you'd be like giving me the middle finger, and I wouldn't be mad at you for it. Well, really, right? It's like neutrality seems like a Pollyanna response to what is happening in the world. And I understand that as well. Neutrality is like the 20-foot rung on the ladder that's above you, that you can't reach 20 feet until you build all the other infrastructures into place where you can get to the place of neutrality. So in other words, we do need to sign petitions. We do need to vote. We do need to speak our voice. We do need to share where we feel there are atrocities happening. We need to stand up. The throat chakra and speaking the voice is such a powerful gift. And we don't do it in many other dimensional realities, because most realities where we exist, we telepathically communicate, and we communicate from the heart. And so there's no need for this use of the voice that we have in this life. The voice in this life is a gift, and it reverberates through the time-space continuum. People think that you say a word and it's done. Everything that we are creating with our voice goes out and ripples into the universe, into all of creation. It's how creation begins, right? Our thoughts, our words, our feelings are the totality of creation. And so it's so important that we are using our voice. It's just also important at some point to realize that fighting for the sake of fighting is still going to be ego, no matter what we're fighting about. So once we've made our point, whatever that is, we need to decide, are we going to put down the sword now and come into a whole new space of reality and existence, or are we going to keep trying to fight that which is just perpetuating more of the same energy? Because eventually, what we fear, we do become. We're not careful. Right? We've watched that time and time again. That is a paradigm that's also on loop. My neighbor can be very frustrating to live next door to at times, and I can be just like them. And in the time-space continuum, I have been just like them, which is why I've attracted it into my field and why I'm frustrated by it, because I haven't fully healed that aspect within myself. And, right? So again, we tend to project outward and say, you did this to me, or this is happening in the world. And it's like, yes, and if we heal that within, now we're having a whole new dialogue, because we're not going to perpetuate that energy anymore. So there's so much richness to being a human. It's very complex, it's very intricate, and it's very fantastical, because if and when we find ourselves in neutrality, if and when we recognize that manifestation is actually BS because we're architects 24/7, we are creating our reality every minute of every single day. And so if I want to change something, create something, open my energy to something, we do it now. We don't have to only do it in ritual or only do it at a full moon or a new moon or when we desire something. It's about becoming conscious creators all the time, right? Choosing our consciousness first. Are we letting it get hijacked by the news and the media and all the things that are happening? Or are we choosing how we wish to exist within our own reality? Oftentimes, I see something that triggers me energetically on the news. This young girl that just got shot in Minnesota, maybe. I'm not sure what state she was in, but some guy she was working with just got mad at her and killed her. I was just like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me? And I grieve that on the one hand. And then I say, I can feel her, what an amazing soul for choosing to sacrifice her life so that humanity ascends, because that's essentially what she's done. She's a total star being. I can totally see her galactic signature. And I can totally see that while this wasn't the way it had to go, she was willing to have that experience in order to help people ascend and help people grow and help wake people up. And so this is kind of where we are in our society, where we're going to see more atrocity, whatever that is, whatever it looks like, whatever it means. And it's not that we're not allowed to grieve it. I did. I opened my heart to it. I felt it. I cried because I'm human and I'm not a brick wall that can just ignore what's happening. And at the same time, after processing that grief, I said, wow, what a magical being you are. Thank you for your service. And may this gentleman who's walking with so much, I mean, you have to be living in so much darkness in order to be willing to kill someone, because that's like next level. Like, we've all done bad things, projected our anger and this and that and the other. We've all made those kinds of simple mistakes, which energetically are toxic, but yet, we forgive ourselves, we forgive others, and we keep moving. Murder is like something I can't fathom ever wanting to do to anyone under any circumstance. And what he must be walking with in order to be able to have done that is so incredibly sad, right? Hurt people.
Yes, and I'd like to get to the point where people aren't hurt anymore.
Right. But the only way that we can really do that, and this is the point, is by not hurting ourselves and by healing ourselves and by loving ourselves. Exactly. Because it really isn't about the outward expression at all. The more we try to help people, change people, or tell people what to do, the more they're going to say, well, you're not accepting me for who I am, the way I am, so F you, right? And that's the challenge too. There's this great commercial for beer.
What a segue.
But it is. I forget was it Stella? I'll have to find it and maybe I'll send you guys the YouTube video. It's like a 6 or 7 minute video. They took all these opposing people, found out their prejudices, and then teamed them with an opposite person of their prejudice. So they picked 2 people that don't understand each other, put them in a room and asked them to build a bar together. And then at the end, they admit who they are and decide whether or not they want to have a drink together. Now, the beautiful thing is, through this commercial, they did manage to find enough people that were willing to say yes at the end of the commercial. And the way each person responds is amazing. They took a trans person and someone who was anti-trans. They took, I want to say, an Armenian and someone from Turkey. So there was genocide for the Armenians. I mean, it was like they took people who were completely opposite ends of the spectrum of their belief systems. And they had to collaborate and cooperate to make something. And they had to get to know each other. And instead of it being a group of people that you can't stand or don't have tolerance for, now you're dealing with a one-on-one person situation where you can actually heal something, because it's not about a group of people. It's about an individual.
Yeah, see, I kind of took that approach when I was growing up in this small Midwest town, and I come out as gay, and everybody's like, flipping out in my family that I'm going to embarrass the family and stuff. I'm like, I'm just going to get to know you first. I mean, obviously it's written across my forehead now, but I had like long hair. I presented more feminine. So I would
She had nails.
I did at one point.
Yep, like that.
I don't know that it was quite like that, but you know, so, but my approach was, let me just get to know you first. And then when you find out I'm gay, there's no way you can just stop because you have that belief that gay people are going to hell or that they're an abomination. And I've never had that issue. One time I've been uninvited somewhere, and that was here in Shasta, believe it or not, within the last year. But yeah, other than that, even in the military, under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, there was no problems. They liked me because of the human being I was.
Right. Thank you for doing that, because that helps the collective consciousness through the 100th monkey idea that it's possible to get that consciousness spread through more people, right? Until it's in consciousness, it can't be absorbed by other consciousness. So that was a huge journey that you've been on and continue to be on. And that's a gift. And I thank you for that, because again, that helps people understand that the package we were given has nothing to do with the energy of love. And societally speaking, religion was the original form of government. And so it was a way to control people and to get people to do what we wanted them to do. And that's the challenge. I mean, there's so many memes and graphics about Jesus saying, I never told them to do this.
Yeah. We say that all the time.
Right?
I literally didn't say that, guys.
Right. Like that was never the message. And there's even some jokes that I won't share now for the Judaism that I grew up with about keeping kosher. Like eventually God says, do what you want, because like they just kept coming back with interpreting the law. And the point was like, that's not what I said, but if that's what you need to do, go for it. Like whatever.
I actually had to explain to Nikki what kosher was because she didn't know. And and what it really comes down to is that these rules were based on not having refrigeration.
100%. But it wasn't just that. You have to remember the most social thing you do is eat. And so if you wanted to keep a nation of people from intermingling with other nations, then if you put dietary restrictions on them, they could not then intermingle with those nations. And so that was also, it was a sociological thing as well as, yes, they watched other people die and get disease, and they understood what to blame. Like, honestly, I joke around and I think that all religion came from the aliens anyway. So never mind. I'm not going to tell my mom that. She's still on the airplane, so I might really freak her out. But, all the rules of being kosher and all the information really comes from Sirius. I mean, just a lot of that information came from Sirius. And Yeshua was, Jesus was an Essene. So again, it's a lot of curiosity that I have around a lot of things. But because I can't say that definitively, and whether or not I could, it wouldn't matter anyway. I'm not here to convince people where religion comes from. But the awareness just is that these forms of control, they're not in service to us. I just taught a class today, or facilitated a class called the Halls of Amenti. And it's about going into shadow work. And part of that shadow work is understanding that we're attached to identities. And what makes us feel safe in society is by putting people in a box so that we think we can identify them in a certain way. And then we can make decisions about them based on that box. And we do that to ourselves equally. And it's all a complete disservice. The challenge is we're very social beings. We want to be accepted. We want to find community. We want to be in love with one another, like in a space of loving connection. And so that becomes this, like, how do I find my tribe, my community, right? And it has to be alike. I recently heard a speaker through another group that I'm occasionally a part of, and it was beautiful. It was a woman whose family was raised in Palestine, and the idea was to sit down with an Israeli. Like, she wasn't willing to only hold her vision of what's happening as truth. She's willing to sit down with anyone to find peace and find an answer, because there's no such thing as one side being right and one side being wrong. And in Israel, that's especially true, because the whole idea of those nations that have been under attack by Israel is because it's been both sides the whole time. And there is an extremist religious belief behind it, in some ways on both sides. Like it's a whole big mess, essentially. You can't say one person's to blame, and you can't say even two nations are to blame. my awareness is, again, there's puppet masters above all of this. I don't go down into the rabbit hole, just so y'all know. Like, I don't. Like, I just know, though, without question in my being, and if you disagree with this, that's okay too, because I'm not here to change anybody's mind. But in my awareness, there's puppet masters above everything that we're experiencing. It's not about even the president of our United States or the president of Israel or the president of any country. It's so much more controlled than we even can fathom. And it's gnarly because this whole thing is like one big experiment. Why don't we do this to this country? And why don't we do that to that country? And why don't we test this disease on these people? And why don't we test this on that? Like, it's all happening all the time. So again, if we want to choose what's going to happen next and or choose how we're going to participate in reality, the best thing that we can do is show up as love and heal ourselves as best we can with grace, right? Like, I am not perfect, peeps. I channel this amazing frequency and it's such a gift. I honestly, sometimes I'm so humbled by this life that I get to live. It is a definitely privileged life. It is a gifted life. Like, I get to have so many amazing experiences. And at the same time, my inner child, I mean, that girl's pissed at the world sometimes. Like, she's just ready to karate chop everything. She's ready sometimes to burn it all down. I have to talk my inner child off a ledge on a regular basis about, again, when I see someone get murdered or when I see
road rage.
Right. I mean, just all of it. When people just can't be kind, I also like that also just triggers a rage button that I just like, okay, but is rage the response? Because that's not how we're going to get kindness, right? That rage response was like, again, the near-death experiences. If I didn't scream, I didn't live. So my medicine in this life is just remembering now I'm completely safe, which I am, and I'm grateful for. I'm completely supported, which I'm also grateful for in a myriad of different ways. And then, it's just important that we remember that it's literally the Course in Miracles, which is broken down into 2 sentences. I forgive myself for believing the dream that I'm separate from my source, and I forgive everyone in the dream. Because that's it. Mm-hmm. We're all walking around believing that God has left us or source has abandoned us. And in truth, we abandoned source. But that's also a conscious overlay. So we're in the process of remembering that we are the spark of source. Source couldn't leave us if we tried. The more we focus on that source, the more we expand that source energy, because wherever focus goes, energy grows, right? We focus, intention, attention, wherever we put our consciousness, now we can expand anything into that, light or shadow, right? So we can either chew on the bone that says I'm a victim, or we can open our heart center and say, wow, I'm the spark of all that is. And as I breathe in this energy that I am, I can expand it out into the multiverse, like that far, like all the way out there, kids, no joke. Which for a lot of people is like, oh my God, I'm dying. So fine, you don't have to go out into the multiverse if you don't want to. Because it can feel scary to be that expansive. For some people can feel like overwhelmed. So you just go out a little bit. Like, go out into your room, go out into your home, go out into your surrounding property. Like, you don't have to expand your energy so far out beyond your comfort zone. But the purpose is to remind you that you're not just this physical body. You're not even this physical body. This physical body is a suit that we borrow while we're here. It's an elemental being. It has its own intelligence. So when we listen to it, it has a lot to say. But ultimately, the energy of the body is, my favorite line from Aladdin. Ultimate cosmic power, itty bitty living space.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
It is that we are the source of all that is. And we are, I don't want to say trapped in a body, because again, the body is a beautiful gift that we get to borrow.
Sometimes it feels that way.
100%. Look, again, I mean, I manufactured my body to hold water in my legs, to literally hold me to this planet. I walk around with lymphedema, and my sense is in the next couple of years, I'm going to heal it because it's not serving my journey anymore. And I'm here to show myself and others that we can heal anything and everything in the body, the same way Anita Marjani and, Bruce Lipton and many other people, Dr. Joe, have showed us how healing the body is 100% possible. it's just hard to remember. Some people have followed those protocols and it's worked. And I get that it also alienates people who haven't been able to figure it out because they think they're not high vibrational enough to do it. That's not my truth either. It's just belief. It's just belief. And it's getting past these programs that are very limiting. Right? It's why we're not.
You say you believe, but do you? Because I find that in the moment that you say I believe, if you listen to that next thought that comes up, a lot of times it's the immediate doubt and that belief.
100%. Well, that's it. So it's the biomagnetics of it, right? I want something, but I don't believe I deserve it. I believe it's possible, but I don't believe it's going to show up for me because it never has, and the other shoe always drops, right? So it's healing these patterns of doubt that do show up, because every 90% of what we think today, we are going to think tomorrow. So that alone shows us the patterning of how easy it is to manipulate us as a species. I mean, we're not dumb, but at the same time, again, pack mentality, 100th monkey, that can work both ways. It can either fill us with the awareness of how powerful we are, or it can keep us very tiny and small in a box. We are so afraid of being uncomfortable, especially physically. That's the easiest way to manipulate us.
Yeah.
We're also afraid of death, even though there's nothing to be afraid of in death. But, you can't really convince most people of that. And I get that too. Being in the 3D, it's so funny with all the star beings that I connect with, they all say the same thing. When you drop into density, it's harder to remember the things you know from 5D and above, because density does create a space of desiring attachment, desiring through attachment. You become like, I never want to see a person or an animal suffer. And so I've already told Finn, my dog, when it's his time, all he has to do is give me the look, and I will put him in a place of heaven easily and quickly. And I will also be a train wreck the day that happens. Absolutely. And I know it, right? So but even knowing all the things I know and all the places I visited and all the angels and beings that that I have spoken to and connected to, doesn't make a difference. I mean, it does in so much that I am in gratitude for the connection and the awareness of where, I know exactly, I told him, don't recycle, just, hang out where you are, all those things. And at the same time, there is this, irreplaceable energy, because we are tactile and we are dense and we are, human and fractalized. So, usually the grief of one thing brings up the grief of all things, which is also by design. The more that we surrender and let go, the more space we make room for what really is true. So anyway, that was a total digression.
But I think it's really important for people to know that that you feel rage, that you feel grief, that you feel all of these things as well, because it's so easy for us to look at our spiritual teachers and leaders and put them on a pedestal that says, they don't feel these things. I'm this plebe down here who still can't get over my road rage, or I still miss my dog or my ex or some such other human attribute. And we're not trying to transcend that. I think that we're done with that guru culture. They have everything figured out. There are people who are not done with that, but I think that's where we're headed.
100%.
Into a place of we're all, like you said at the very beginning of this, we're all just walking each other home. And that means we're walking side by side.
Without question. I only raised my eyebrow because my awareness is, in general, that there are those who want to be on the pedestal. And so that's why they are. They don't want to share their imperfections. They don't want to share their foibles. I don't want to say worshipped is not the right word, but they're not willing to be vulnerable to their people. And they have huge followings because people, instead of religion, are now choosing the same kind of concept in spirituality, because it's still, I'm doing a lot of readings right now, and I'm doing different kind of readings than most people are used to. They want the dopamine hit. They want to hear how amazing they are. And I'm happy to share that with them. And I do. But I make them really aware that any session that I do with anyone is about empowerment, because I'm not here to just make you feel good and validated about yourself. I'm here to help you understand that the only person who can heal you is you. There's not a reading, there's not a person, there's not a session that you can have with anyone on this planet that can heal you. Only you can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to help people understand, like, this disempowerment culture that does exist in spirituality is also a loop that needs to be healed. Because again, it's just an extension of religion, or an extension of, putting anyone on the pedestal. We really, really need to take responsibility for ourselves. And while, look, not for nothing, I have a mentor also. And sometimes I like the dopamine hit of getting a tarot card reading or knowing deeper. Like, I just recently got a deeper reading about my human design and my astrology for next year to understand some of the things that I'm going to be facing as I go through that. And I was grateful to receive it. And even though it said some amazing things, whether or not those things happen, I am fully aware it's going to be up to me to choose the timeline. Like, those things aren't just going to show up in my field alone. I have to take responsibility for being Aurora, for waking up each day and focusing my consciousness, for admitting when I need to apologize, for, finding my way back to my heart every day. I'm an Aquarius with an Aquarius rising. I am so much fixed air. I'm stubborn as a mother flower. And oftentimes I do think I know it all, even though I know I actually don't. So sometimes I come across like so much more masculine, for lack of a better way to put it, or just more in my mind than I'd like to. I'd rather come across from my heart.
Aurora,
and I reckon
when's your birthday? When is your birthday?
February 17th.
Oh, January 26th. I'm a January Aquarius. But we were both 4-1s in human designs. I'm like,
yes.
What are the chances?
Right. Totally. 4-1 really is that destiny path where no matter what we do, we're going to find what it is we're meant to be doing. And that's, on the one hand, that's helpful. I guess I feel like all the things I went through weren't for nothing, but I was also the creator of all those things. So, it just keeps coming back to the awareness that I'm also a Taurus moon, so I'm fixed in every direction. Gratefully, I've got Mars and Capricorn, and I've got Uranus and Scorpio. Like, I've got some other good placements that help me. My midheaven is Sag. So these things kind of help temper the, I'm an Aquarian and I know everything, and this is the age of Aquarius, and we're going to all, whatever.
I find myself knowing I'm a fixed fate, right? And I have that fixed path, but I go, okay, so I understand that, but I also understand I can get off course to a certain degree before it recorrects. So I find myself asking for the guidance to get me the path of least resistance the most.
I'm with you there.
Ease and grace, please.
Yeah, right. I moved to Mexico with 8 suitcases and a cat. I came back with 4 suitcases and a cat. I moved to Shasta, and it was the hardest 3 years of my life here. I felt like it was spin cycle rocks, like ow. 6 years in Sedona was amazing and much softer. So when the mountain called me back, I was like, yeah, you're kidding, right? Like, do you remember those 3 years? Because that was, and then even a re-entry into here was rough. So I also, I've asked, well, now I'm in the home that I'm going to buy, and things are significantly better and different. But you're right. The 4-1, I've also asked for that more ease and grace, but I also have an awareness that Mach 10 into the brick wall that I've done many times over serves in helping other people, because I've got a lot of people in my life that just want to leave their corporate life and go straight into spirituality. And it's like, whoa, if you have a mortgage and kids and a partner and whatever you've got going on in your life, you need to actually really be grounded before you make a decision like that. I'm not asking anyone to live out of alignment, and you need to be able to support yourself. I had my car repossessed when I lived here in 2016 or 17. I don't remember which. And I was barely supporting myself because I had already been on this spiritual journey. And I'm like, I'm going to support myself, but I'm not living full alignment. How can you be giving advice to people when you can't make a car payment?
That's when I think it becomes more about that, like, guru master thing that you were talking about, because that placement of yourself on the pedestal will then create the followers that will then create the abundance that will perpetuate the same kind of exchange, but in a different setting, I would say. So yeah, the alignment is so key. And I think that that's the thing that we're trying to rush to a lot of the time.
Yeah, and you can't really, because that's what I mean. Like, it's not worth it to be hard on yourself for wherever you are in this moment. It's actually worth it to love the crap out of yourself for wherever you are in this moment, because that's the way through the next corridor of what you're about to experience, right? Everything is about alignment. And the more that you understand that, the more your creation is effortless. And the more that you're trying to force something, the more challenge you're going to receive in that creation. So, and again, it's rungs on the ladder. First, you need to understand manifestation. Then you need to understand creation. Then you need to understand flow. Like, it doesn't just happen that you can just wake up and be in the flow for the most part. It does require understanding the pieces of the pie that get you to where you're going. I'm in full flow right now. I'd say most of the time. All of the time, probably not, because vibrationally, I vacillate like everyone else. But I'll give you the example. I just bought my ticket to Peru a couple of days ago. I'm going at the end of this month, and I was kind of freaking out because I didn't have anyone to watch the dogs. I'm on trusted house sitters, but I was like, no one's going to want to show up here for the week of Thanksgiving, and it's going to be rainy and cold. I better hire someone in town. So I reached out to someone, was going to hire them, and we talked the price and all the things, and I said, let me get back to you because I haven't bought the ticket yet. So I'll give you the exact dates. And as I purchased the ticket, within 4 hours, someone from Trusted House Sitter says, I would love to watch your dog for those dates. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Then the next piece of that pie is that they're half Peruvian. Their mother Peruvian.
Of course.
And they go to Peru all the time. They already have a trip scheduled in May. Like, what are the odds of this flow? And Spirit just keeps showing me, you're in alignment, so stop freaking out about the timing or the timeline. Just keep staying in your heart chakra. And then I had to check in and say, okay, is it okay to cancel on the person that I was going to pay? Because that doesn't feel great. And I said, so what I realized was highest divine alignment, right? So I pulled back that energy of lack and just said, my plans have changed. I'm really sorry. I'm hoping that this shift will help you align to something that's even better than watching my dogs for this period of time, right? That was my prayer. I said it to them and they said, yeah, all's in the flow. Like, they didn't even care really, which was even more helpful. But we tend to think now, yes, responsibility and integrity are incredibly important, but we also tend to think through the energy of lack, right? Like, this person was going to make $500. Now they're not. But what if they're going to make $2,000 now because of this cancellation? Like, we don't know what we're all creating for ourselves and each other in every moment. And my prayer is for that highest divine alignment for that person. And I'll hold that field with them through this, right? So everything that we do, we get to take responsibility for and learn in creation. And again, understand that no matter what it is, whether we're following a guru or we're now coming into more self-empowerment, these are all rungs on the ladder. I used to listen to people and believe every word they said until I started hearing certain things. I was like, yeah, that's not my truth. That's not my truth. Okay. And then even most recently, I saw Bashar 2 years ago now in Sedona. By the way, still love Daryl with all my heart. And 85% of what Bashar shares is totally my medicine. But then he says, the Bell Rock is the most powerful vortex in Sedona. And I'm like, yeah, you lost me, kid. Like, that's not possible. Like, I'm sorry. It's the most resonant for the people of your race. Totally. But it is not the most powerful vortex in all of Sedona. I have Thunder Mountain in my backyard, and I can tell you that I practically levitate when I go to bed in the evening because that's my personal resonance, right? So everyone needs to continue to keep discerning Again, I may have said things in this whole 44 minutes of what we've been talking, and you may be like, that Aurora chick is crazy. No problem. It doesn't it's really about each one of us finding what's resonant and what's our truth. And then we keep refining it, because my truth from 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, looks almost nothing like what my truth is now, because I can continue to learn things, discover things, channel things that help me have a greater understanding. And so truth for me, like certain truth is immovable, like math. Right? 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2, as far as I'm aware. I mean, maybe there are ways where that's not true, but if there are, it's so far beyond my comprehension, I'll just accept that as truth. I'll also accept the truth that all time is now, even though I haven't had that full experience yet in this moment, right? There's certain things that when I say them, I actually feel what truth feels like in my body, right? And then there was a time when maybe I thought that my origins of my star self were a specific species or race. And since channeling, I realize now and have discovered through my higher source self and the beings that share information that our origins are source, that there's no way for me to know my source in this universe because I'm from beyond this universe. And that what most humans have done in this lifetime especially is manufacture their DNA through the different stars in our galaxy that will fortify us with wisdom, that will help us go through the awakening process on our planet and evolve. Right? So before, I was convinced that I was so-and-so or such and such or a thing of a thing. And that was my truth. And now through my own channel, through my own information that I brought through, it makes so much more sense that while I do feel very close to those beings, I actually have other genetic patterns in my DNA through other parts of the stars. And it's not about origin. It's really just about fortification and information for this lifetime on this planet. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense, right? But if you tried to tell me that 5 years ago, I'd be like, no, I am this.
Right.
And anything else you tell me isn't true.
Well, and speaking of channel, you mentioned in the beginning that it was about 1.5 years ago that you opened up to not one, like you just mentioned Daryl channels Bashar, but it's a collective that you channel.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that came to be?
Sure.
What was the maybe physical experience of that? And we've been following different channels for quite some time, and it feels like not only do they each have their own personality, just like how we each have our ways in these human bodies, but also there's usually some underlying message that they feel is very important to teach us here. Does your collective have something like that?
So starting with the first question, a couple of years ago, I was invited to do sound with another gentleman at a very large event that included a channeling event that included Daryl and a bunch of other famous, well-known channelers. And it was like a 750 person event. And I didn't sleep the 3 nights before because I was freaking out about what it would mean to sing and do singing bowls in front of 750 people. And I don't think it was ever 750 people in the room when I actually did the sound. So that was also first, like, not illusions of grandeur, but like, I was kind of psyching myself out for not knowing what the experience was going to be. So that was first. Second, even though I've been singing my whole life and had confidence in that, I don't know, there was just something about this whole thing that was scaring the crap out of me. And I think what happens before your soul is about to go through an expansion, the ego shows up and says, be afraid, be very afraid. Something's about to change. You're going to die, something, whatever. It could also be past life, this life, or past life, all the things. But the expansion creates a real fear for me because I can tell you right now, before I'm going to Peru, I've been eating a ton of ice cream. And I always do that when expansion's about to happen. I'm freaking out and my inner child, I can feel it. And ice cream is the answer to make my inner child feel better. So I just accept that I might gain 5 pounds before I go. And I'm trying to also work with those pieces and on a spiritual level. I digress. But so I was terrified. And the funny part is I get on the stage to do this event, and my friend John, who I'm doing this event with, is like fully in love with himself and his gifts. He's such a gifted person, and he knows it. He has done sound. He can play like any instrument he picks up. He can play it. He sings beautifully. He channels, does light language. He does just all the things. His name is John Dumas. You can find him on Spotify, on YouTube, all the things. He's just an amazing, gifted musician. So he's like out there, like, I am like everything. And I'm on stage like, I am terrified. And so what ended up happening was I feel like his love of awareness of how gifted he is was flowing. His confidence was flowing into my energetic field because we were sitting in proximity. Also, he kept giving the stage to me, which was so sweet. Like he was trying to showcase my gifts. He wasn't trying to take over the stage. He was so honoring. It was so beautiful. And so I made it through the event, not just made it, but like felt really good about most of it. Some of it I was like, nah, that could have been better, but that's okay. That's just the critical part of me. So anyway, with all of that said, after that event, I had another channeling event where I actually did the channel. I do sound and then I channel at the end. And it was about a week later, and there were like 5 people in the audience and maybe 10 people online. And as I start channeling, I am suddenly Judi Dench. I sound like an old British woman, and I felt gnarled like a tree. Like I remember my body. Like I remember like moving my body like I was a gnarled tree. And I'm like, what the ever love is this? Used to channeling. I've channeled through different voices before, through different species of or different stars of planets. I've channeled different accents before. This was just an entirely different energy. Generally, anything above the 5th dimension will say we, because it's not that they're not an individual, they just understand themselves as the collective of all that is. This is a 9th dimensional frequency. It is not from our planet or universe, but they are very connected to Gaia, and so they use the Earth as a satellite to communicate their message through me. I do see one kind of face, but I can see behind the face is a collective. And in 9th dimensional frequency, that also makes sense to me because, again, my awareness is the further we get from density, the more we are collective. And that's just the nature of dimensionality. I get a yes on that. So Aum Ra or Aum Ra Ha Nu is the full name, but I call them the Aum Ra Collective for short because it makes life a little easier. I was sitting at the Global Center for Christ Consciousness, just channeling for my friend John, who has a company called Humankind, different John than the sound guy. And Aum Ra just came through me and has been coming through ever since. So the interesting piece is I still do on occasion, like channeling. I had my retreat in September and like someone from Orion came through and I don't know, a few different beings did come through, but Aum Ra is definitely this main connection, and my awareness is similar to Daryl, how he's channeling a future version of himself. That is the same with Aum Ra. My sense is that they are me, I am them, we are one, and I couldn't have access to them until I had enough self-confidence and self-love, right? Everything we do is vibrational. Everything. So in order for me to connect with Aum Ra, I had to be able to meet them vibrationally speaking. And that meant a certain amount of love of self, confidence, and humility. Humility is a big piece of this game. It's good to think who we are on the one hand. It's important to really fully appreciate all of the magic that we are. But it's also important to be humble with that awareness, right? It's not about... when we need to brag or show off or blah, blah, blah. And I do find myself doing this, by the way, sometimes. So it's not like I'm still done with that piece. Like when I feel like I need to be seen or I want people to know something, I'm like, oh, that's my inner child showing up because she wasn't seen or heard the way she wanted to be. Right. So on occasion, that little Lisa will show up and she'll be like, hi, did you see me? Do you see how I sparkle? How I shine? I'm so special. I'm so special. And other times I'm like, oh, that happened. Okay. Well, can't unmake that happen, but I can observe that I needed that in that moment for some reason, or felt vulnerable maybe for that reason or that moment. And then I can come back into heart space and align, because truthfully, Aum Ra can't come through in that vibration, right? Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm special. We're all special, right? We know that.
Well, I mean, Aurora, you're hard to miss. Which is so funny because, like,
it's not only the purple hair. You're usually walking around with a wolf dog. So I mean,
there is that.
That's true. That's true. And it's funny because, I mean, we see you at the grocery store. So it's all of the like most mundane things in life where, you know, yes, everybody in Mount Shasta is special because,
well, everybody everywhere.
I know. That's the funny thing is we're all special, but we meet at the grocery store.
Totally. But what what I was alluding to really was the awareness that, like, now I have been on the same stage as Daryl as a channeler, right? So it's kind of like that energy, like, because there's still plenty of people who have no idea who I am. And I don't know why I want anyone to know who I am when it's actually quite good to be anonymous in this world. Because I know that as the work does expand, that there's just as much hate out there as there is love. And I'll be navigating that frequency too. I've already joked around with you. I don't know if I said this to you. I may have. Like, there's a video out there called Aurora Luna Star Exposed.
Yes, yes.
And gratefully I'm not naked in it. Like, but these two women just decided to like rip me apart and have never met me, never spoken to me. Right. So, you know, it's funny to want to be seen on the one hand and then like, oh, that's what's going to be there on the other hand, because we live in duality. So it is that, wanting to be seen as Daryl's peer, even though in truth, I really don't feel like I am his peer just quite yet. And that's not from a place of feeling less than. It's just from a place of what he's been doing and how he's been doing it, and the expertise of his connection is immaculate to me, and it's beautiful to me. And he's had, like, he has 40 years on me of doing it, right? Or 30 some odd years. So even Wendy Kennedy, Jamie Price, like, I listen to these people who are my heroes and sheroes, and I love them. I honor them, and they are amazing. And it doesn't lessen the truth of me or what I share. I just acknowledge that I'm still polishing like a lot of how and what I do. And I honor that these amazing people paved the way for this to even be possible for me. And so it's coming back into that humble pie where, when I say seen, it doesn't mean the silliness that is the physical me, more like, oh, look at what I've accomplished. And I know that's coming from my inner child, because in my family, my sisters were very smart and very artistic. I have a sister that I think she skipped a grade and could have skipped 2 grades. Like, I was so ADHD. I got into college. I have a college degree, but I didn't graduate with honors or valedictorian. Like, I was not any of that kind of energy. And I think that there's an unhealed piece of me still navigating that, even though my family, it's not like that anymore. I mean, my mom did say to me, and I think I've shared this once before, that she didn't know I was graduating until she saw my name in the brochure. And I was like, wow, Mom, that knife in my back, can you get it out for me? But I get it in a way. I mean, I struggled through school because I've been an alien, right? So I'm a multitasker. My mind doesn't work in linear ways. I can't learn things the same way everyone else learns them. I'm not dyslexic, gratefully, but I had to really love something in order to process it. Otherwise, it would be literally in one ear and out the other. And I feel like on a soul level, my soul was like, nope, don't need that. Let's keep going. Yep. But on a regular 3D, being a cog in the wheel, having to fit into societal norms, it's like, what else do you do, right? So you force yourself to be the cog in the wheel, and you force yourself as a square peg into a round hole, and you just do what you need to do to get by. So that's, I know that inner child piece, there's still healing to be done there. That's all.
As somebody who went to a very fancy art school and got incredible grades and like did all the things, I just want to tell you, like, that is good girl conditioning all the way. I look back at that and go, yeah, that wasn't for me. That was to prove something and to, you know, like, I can do it too, but I feel like so many of us who were trying, and we've just been talking about this, trying to fit in and trying our best to be a part of like normal society, whatever that means to us, it, yielded very little actual self-love or confidence or any of those things because it's so fleeting. You get the grade and then you're like, great, on to the next one. Or you graduate college and you're like, so it's the carrot always that you're chasing.
It's the matrix.
100%. Aum Ra will always talk about that perfection is a farce and it's an overlay of consciousness placed here to keep us small because it's elusive. You catch the carrot, but then now there's another carrot and suddenly the carrot you have doesn't become viable or valuable or anything anymore. And it's never good enough because you can never catch enough carrots to make something feel it's true. So it's the grass is always greener, right? So it's like be the underdog or be the perfectionist or be the whatever we have been conditioned into believing it's never good enough. It just doesn't matter. Straight A's or like barely making it through college, right? It's all conditioning. It's all telling us no matter what, that we're just not valued. And it's so crazy that that's the world that we're still living in, but we are shifting it. We are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're really realizing that undoing all the conditioning, undoing all the patterns and just sinking into who we are authentically is, it brings so much inner peace.
It does. Right? Authentic is acting. So the definition of authentic is original source. So when we are being authentic, we are acting as source, as us. We are being that piece of creation that is authentically the love and light that we are. And, sometimes that's really challenging when you're surrounded by a group of people who have carbon copied themselves into a pattern and you don't fit that pattern.
Yeah.
And,
especially after they're used to you fitting that pattern and now you're not.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Right. And people pleasing 101. And now I'm not going to please you anymore. And everyone's like, what? Like, what do you mean you're not going to do what I want to do?
Who did this to you?
Right. Couldn't be you that did it to yourself because you wanted to expand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just so many things. It's so many things. It's so funny to be human because we really are this infinite cosmic power. And yet, some of the readings that I've been doing where I'm finding this big dichotomy is these people who do want to be seen and heard, but yet aren't willing to like get online and do it. Right. So, and I get that too. It's lifetimes of being burned at the stake and have your head chopped off and all those patterns, plus whatever patterns from all of that we carried into this life, because we're completing all of that now. Right. So we're completing it for our lineages. We're completing it for humanity. We're completing it for this iteration of experience done, period. Like new paradigm time.
On the other side of fear is everything you've ever wanted.
Yes, it is. And trying to, even if you tell someone that and they know that, getting them there is, it's why I'm in business really, because I do mentorship with people. Yeah. But, it's easy to say, it's hard to get people to do because I've had to explain to a lot of clients who will say, but this is why I'm not doing that. And I'll say, okay, I need you to understand that even though you've explained that really well to yourself, that is still resistance.
Yep.
Like, you're entitled to your resistance. And if this is where you are right now, I'm not going to push you out of that space if you don't want to go there. But I need you to understand that is what it is identified as. And sometimes they still can't hear that. And if that's the truth, that's okay too. Like, again, I'm not going to bully you into ascension.
You literally can't.
Right. And that's the point. The point is, everyone's where they are. And it's perfect. Like, people come to me because they want to expand, but I also get that within that I'm learning and remembering that I am meant to be the loving container. So I will push buttons, but not to the point of no return or to crisis, right? I'm not looking to put people into spiritual crisis. And really, if someone were to do something beyond what they feel is right for them, that's not empowerment. So it really does, I had a client tell me recently that they weren't going to do a certain thing that I asked them to do. And they gave me the reasoning behind it, which they really didn't owe me. And I said, you know what? Good for you. Good for you for telling me where you are, what feels aligned and what doesn't feel aligned. Awesome. And I meant it. I meant it wholeheartedly. Because I think it takes a lot to speak your truth, especially to someone who also is guiding you, right? It showed me that this person does see us as equal, as they should. And that was also beautiful. So yeah, this life is magical, really, 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 really magical. And it's also painful. And the awareness is that the shadow serves the light. Again, right? We don't expand if we're watching TV and eating bonbons. We expand because we have an opportunity to face things. The sentence that I was given through a couple of resources, the first was a movie, but then Aum Ra shifted how it was phrased, was really that vulnerability is the currency that we have when we speak to each other. It's not money, it's not things, it's vulnerability. It's in our weakest moments sharing the truth of what we're experiencing, because the truth is we're all experiencing it. And the fact that we've been hiding it and not talking about it has prevented us from healing and from expanding and from becoming more of the truth of who we're here to be.
I feel like the closest friends I have are a result of being in these circles with them and being completely vulnerable. The more vulnerable I get, the closer my relationships get.
100%. And not just externally, right? The more vulnerable you are, you're also gifted. It's a gift to you. It's a gift to yourself. I'm willing to strip myself energetically in front of anyone, not because I want to prove something or show something, but because I refuse to be on that pedestal. I need everyone to know that as much of a gift as I get to walk with in this life is also as much of a challenge as I've had to face and continue to face, like every other person, right? Rage is real and it doesn't go away. It's like having any other disease or dysfunction, but what I can do is work with it in lots of beautiful ways. It also is an excellent indicator, because sometimes rage or anger is letting me know what, our feelings are indicators, right?
Yep.
They help us understand what's in alignment and what's out of alignment. But it's also important, instead of just assuming that anger says there's something out of alignment, I first need to go within and ask, okay, but what is this anger really showing me? Because oftentimes it's fear.
Yep.
Oftentimes it's fear. And so it's important to be willing to examine those things, look at those things, and sit with those things. And also be willing to feel. Don't stuff your stuff. Feel your stuff. Because the more that we feel our stuff, again, the more healing takes place. And it's beautiful when you can do it with a divine mirror, a counterpart. It's, and it's beautiful when we can do it in community. It's so, so important. And the one final thing I'm going to share on the channel in general is that if you hear people channeling things that are fear-based, I invite you to take a step back. I'm not going to tell you what the truth is or not the truth is, but in general, most of what I know about channeling is it's love-based. Channeling is usually trying to expand you into the next octave of your expression and help you understand that you're already connected to source. You're already that source light. And so it becomes important to follow that stuff. If you're listening to the fear-based stuff, it may be right or wrong, but the truth is that reality is created based on what we believe. And if enough people are believing something, they are amassing the creation of that fear itself. Right? When the news says there's going to be a food shortage, guess how that food shortage gets created? By millions of people going into fear that they believe it's going to happen. Yep. So the more we can pull back from that kind of collective nonsense and feel into the truth that you always have food on your table, or whatever the truth is that you want to tell yourself about these things, right? Everything I've ever wanted has always come true. So why is that going to stop now? Everything I've ever desired from a heart space for the highest of all concerned has always shown up in my life. That means everything is going to continue on that path as long as I allow my consciousness to lead me, my heart to lead me in that way. And that is the most important message I could leave you with.
Amazing. Well, we were going to ask you if, as a closing to this conversation, you would be able to channel a message for us. I mean, obviously, we don't know who will be on the receiving end at this time, but the collective, what does the collective need to know for potentially the upcoming year, since 2026 is around the corner?
Yep, something just came through. So I will get into channel and I'll be with you shortly. Greetings, dear ones. We are the Aum Ra Collective. We are grateful to be with you on this day, and we do have a message that we wish to share with you. And it is for you to be aware that as you are navigating the end of your year in your linear time, and you are preparing for next year, there's a pattern that is going to continue from this point forward. You may have already noticed it. It will continue. The definitions of your life are going to shift, which means that which you have been relying upon of your past is fleeting, is leaving, is shifting. This does not mean physical death per se, but it is alchemy. It is a change of perception, awareness, and how you walk in the world. And it is important to let go of defined energies where they are so rigid that they are, in a way, perhaps holding you stuck in place. We wish for you to understand this acutely, because the more you can release definitions, the more you can soften your gaze. Perhaps if you're looking at the horizon, instead of looking at the sharp line of the horizon, softening your gaze as you look at your future. Leave room to be surprised, leave room to understand and remember energies, informations that will assist you as you move forward in the world you are desiring to create. This becomes very important because you're not taking the past with you as you have in prior iterations of your experience, even in your own life in this moment. You are not taking the past with you. It is as if to understand that you are carrying luggage for a 747 in this moment, and as you go into fifth dimensional frequency, that you can somehow bring all of that luggage with you. My dears, you cannot. You must leave the baggage behind. Now, this is also not a race to see who will have the least amount of baggage. There is a collective movement happening. It's happening in many different ways with different ideals and ways of seeing the world. It matters not how you get there. It can be these over there doing this and those over there doing that, and all of it will equate to something similar, finding vibrational resonance that allows you to bring more healing, to allow for greater resonance and more love to take place in your life, whatever that looks like. It does not have to have one face, one idea, or one ideal. It can have many faces, many facets. And fear not, it's already happening. And again, as you choose in your life, you can always change your mind, can you not? You are not stuck in one thought at any one moment. It cannot rain every day. It will not be sunny every day. It matters not. Allow yourself to know that as change is happening, to be willing to release what needs to be let go of. And you'll ask, well, how will I know? Where are you resisting is what we will ask you. Whatever you're resisting, you are clinging to. from your past. And whatever you are willing to let go of, you are now making room for something incredibly different, new, and perhaps much more than you can even imagine. We will give you 2 visuals and then we will come to completion. The first is the eye of the needle. So imagine walking through the eye of the needle with that luggage. You cannot, dear one, we assure you. Walking through the eye of the needle means letting all that baggage go, because only you narrowly will very much fit through that space. All that luggage will be left behind. It does mean, perhaps, that you are changing the definitions of who you remember you are here to be. That can feel unnerving. You may even wish to grieve the person you've been in the past. Whatever that looks like, we honor you, dear one, for letting go of those definitions can be challenging when you've seen yourself through a certain lens, whether you've defined yourself by your vocation, by your family, by your lineage, by your country, whatever it is that you've defined yourself as. None of these definitions truly have any more power over you. They may guide you, but they are not the true nature of your being, of your power. The second analogy or information that we would like to share with you is that you can focus on this cookie that you desire, dear one, and it's the very favorite cookie that you've ever had in your entire life. The best, the best, the best of the best. And what if you could have the entire bakery, dear one? Not just one cookie, all the cookies, all the cakes. We wish to have all of this for you. And yet, oftentimes you're stuck on that one little cookie. Open your perception, your heart, your awareness to the fact that Source, through the quantum field, is willing to work with you in a myriad of ways, ways that you can't even imagine or see in your mind's eye in this moment. And if you are willing to surrender, if you are willing to open your heart, if you are willing to allow yourself that potentiality, that Source is going to co-create with you for something fantastical. Now you've got cookies in the oven that no one's even ever heard of before. They're a brand new recipe. Isn't that exciting? What could be more exciting? So please, dear ones, we invite you to know that your future is a co-creation, that your past has no true place in your future. And as your definitions change, and as you change, and as you grow and expand, it is fair to leave yourself room to cry and to release the past of your true self that has been up until this moment. It is okay to grieve fear for what you do not know what is coming. And we recommend wholeheartedly that you get very excited for what unfolds next after your grief is complete. Because what happens next, you can only imagine. And with that, we see you, dear ones. We remember you, we love you dearly, and we thank you. Ooh.
Wow.
Like, it's the same. I keep getting the same type of message. And then I'm still in my head the whole time. I'm going, so does that mean I'm not supposed to get another job to pay my bills? Because, like, I need the clear answer.
So here's what I'm going to share around that, only because you mentioned it. It depends where you are in your root chakra with this information. In my awareness, having a job, even part-time, is helpful to get us out of a space of survival, because it helps us take care of what's in front of us in this moment. And it doesn't mean you're a failure, and it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you because you're not fully supporting your spiritual self in this moment with your spirituality. It simply means that energetically, not everything is lined up yet, and it's not a big deal. oftentimes you're going to be called into places of density anyway, so that you can be anchoring light in places that need you. So ultimately you're in service, and then you get paid for that service. You might be a cashier, or I don't know, whatever the flip or flops you end up. I worked at Trader Joe's before moving to Mount Shasta the first time. And I remember thinking, I was riding a bicycle at the time because I had sold my car before I moved to Mexico. I mean, it was all this drama, whatever. And I remember feeling like ashamed. And I remember feeling like, why do I, like, if I'm working at a supermarket, that's falling so far from all the things that I've done. And I'm going to see people in the community and it's embarrassing and this and that. Like, I was just telling myself this whole story about it. Ultimately, it was amazing. It was fun. I made the money that I needed, and it did exactly what I needed it to do so that I could move through to the next octave of what I needed to experience.
You know what I think I've been telling myself as you're talking, is kind of coming up for me, is if I get a job, then I'm saying no to this bigger path that I know that is coming for us, and it's just going to delay it longer. I think that's the narrative I've had in my head.
Yep.
And I think that's what's causing all this resistance for either path, or both, or all of it.
But I would invite you to know that, in fact, it's really the opposite. If you're navigating any kind of survival frequency, then what's happening is that's what's preventing your current path, right? I had my car repossessed. So trust me, I was in the thick of it with being a spiritual lead. But after my car got repossessed is when John Burgos asked me to be on my first podcast ever in my life, right? So this is how it happened. I had to get a bicycle, ride 5 miles from North Old Stage Road to Soul Connections every day, and work there and make money there. And sometimes I traded my time for crystals, but most of the time I was paying rent. And that's how I found myself getting back on my feet again, was getting out of the energy of survival. So at that time, 10 years ago almost, I didn't understand energy the way I do now, right? It's why I threw my $100,000 paying job back in 2014 and free health insurance to the wind and said, I'm going to follow my spiritual path. But I didn't do it with the ability to create the way I have that ability now. And you can't force yourself into it, because the more you get into survival, the harder it's actually to climb out of it. So my awareness is this is what I coach most of my clients through all the time, is the awareness, like, first set yourself up in a space where you can breathe, because from the place where you can breathe, now you can create anything. But if you are clawing at your credit card bills and anything else that you're navigating in your reality, and you're worried about the roof over your head or whatever it is for you, then it's important to understand that that job is going to be a blessing. And there's nothing wrong with that blessing. There's no shame in that blessing. It doesn't mean that you're not spiritual simply because you're still doing a little bit of 3D stuff. I mean, not for nothing. That's kind of why we're here, is your soul is learning what a badass you are. But first you need to figure out some of the logistics. And the truth is that you can go full force at your spiritual life and work part-time or even full-time. You just have to figure out, so if perhaps in the past you were working a job that really didn't feel aligned, so maybe this time you're going to find something that is more aligned. Is it going to be your favorite thing that you're going to wake up every day and jump up and down and say, oh my God, I love this job? Probably not. But at the same time, it will keep energetic flow moving in your whole beingness, from your physical and chakra centers to the flow that's happening in your household. And from that space, now everything has room to flow. Like when my car got repossessed, obviously my spiritual business wasn't doing that great. I mean, right? Like, again, I have to be in integrity in some, I believe in playing in the 3D until we move through the 3D. Mm-hmm. So the point is that I can play in the 3D and pay my taxes and do all the things of the things of the things. Get my car, my truck. I just had to register my truck in the state of California, and holy hoop jumping Batman. I had to get my truck weighed. I had to get the smog. It was every time I went to the DMV, it was like, nope, you got to do this thing. Nope, you got to. I'm like, what is this? And our DMV is only open 2 days a week. Anyway, I digress. The point of it being, I'm happy to do all those things because it's just part of being in the matrix. So what do I do when I'm standing in line at the DMV, which gratefully here is mostly short? I just open my heart chakra and I anchor that whole place with love, man, because I don't plan on spending a lot of time there in the future. So now I've just loved Bob in the DMV, and now that's there for the next people who walk in, right? Like anywhere we go,
It is the most chill DMV I've ever been to.
110%, without question.
And like I'm listening, and I'm also thinking from the perspective of like earlier this year, like I had a job that I really enjoyed. I loved what I did. I loved the mission. And then because I worked for the government. So then this new administration just kind of came in, and all of a sudden it was just not aligned anymore. And being in Mount Shasta, it was like, okay, so I understand why this is being taken away. And I understand I'm at the root chakra of the world. And I'm supposed to feel this safety. And I'm supposed to be learning the security and safety because that's where I'm at here. And if I go get a job that I'm not learning that lesson, and I'm really trying hard to just jump off and be that person that can just float and build the bridge as I'm in the air. And I am a spiritual person. I can do this, damn it.
That's a story. Let go of the story.
You're welcome.
You know why I love this conversation? Because I too have had this conversation with a lot of my clients. Like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I know that there's a bigger purpose for me out there. And I'm always like, yes, and.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and.
100%. It's a yes and and it's an awareness that when you energetically align, you won't be striving, you'll be thriving. And so it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you because you're not thriving right now. It's just that you're building, and building takes time. So we can't expect necessarily that simply because we've entered into something that Rome will be built in a day because you're a superpower, badass, spiritual person. That can happen, but it's unlikely to happen for a lot of different reasons. Because again, there are rungs on the ladder, and we choose those rungs for a reason in our development. If we're just jumping up to the 20th foot, let's say you can fly and jump up 20 feet to that rung. How is anyone else going to learn how to do it? But there's no point of reference by which to teach them, to show them, to share with them the wisdom. You're experiencing exactly what you need to right now, because some of what is your audience is going to need this as an assistance, as a point of reference for their own evolution and, path. So you, on the one hand, like you have chosen this for exactly that reason, but at the same time, it's so important to know there's no shame in being a part of whatever 3D there is. And of course, with current administration, you would have wanted to get out anyway. That was divine alignment. So the question is, in the interim, what else is divine alignment? You have so many things in skill set. You have so much to put on your resume. And the truth is, Mount Shasta is the root chakra, but it's also the crown chakra. This is a full octave expression of the planet. This is the, getting into your root chakra and really understanding what it means to be in thrival and connect with Gaia in creation. And this is also about connecting with source in creation and about being that conduit in between. It's about holding that hara line of as above, so below, because you need both in order to create. You can't have just one or the other. Certainly, you can create way more with earth than you can with thought, but thought still needs to be there, because what are you creating if you don't have the thought, right? So you need the balance between heaven and earth, or the root and the crown chakra crown chakra ideas need to get grounded, right? You can't just have the idea. But also you can't just have action without knowing what next action comes. And that usually comes from inspiration, which comes through the crown or the sacral. I mean, it could come through any which way when it comes to creation, but it is important to have an awareness that you're doing your destiny path in a very similar fashion to mine, and you don't have to, right? So give yourself permission to find a liminal space, the space in between what you want and where you are, so that you can just sigh. Who doesn't want to take a deep breath and feel like they've got everything they need in this moment, right? While concurrently building the blocks of creation of where you are now. It's imminent that you will manifest the life that you desire without question. How quick you are able to manifest it is just going to depend on how long you stick to this concept of what is supposed to be, right? We can't really tell the quantum field how we want it. We can just say what we want and take action steps. But if we insist that it has to look a certain way, the quantum starts to shut down. So this is an invitation to say, you know what? You can thrive in a million different ways. Find a way, the next way that feels aligned in this moment. And for all you know, it'll circle back around. The next 3D job that you have actually might have spiritual connotations to it that may circle back to feeding a line of energy through this new business that will support you in both ways until this one is ready to really take off and bring you oodle amounts of income.
This has been an incredible conversation.
Aww.
Far exceeded, actually, all of my 3D human expectations.
But we were open to that.
It truly does feel so, I feel so grateful that we had a chance to meet here, that we had this opportunity to commune in this way, and just thank you so much for.
Oh, thank you both.
So if people listening want to get in touch with you, want to work with you, want to follow you,
all of your stuff will be in the show notes. And, we will be putting clips of this onto social media, but like your social media is poppin'. I love all of the messages that you post on there. So definitely check out Aurora on socials, because it's like little nuggets of wisdom every time.
Yeah, I mean, everything I do is Aurora Luna Star. So it's either Insta, TikTok, my website, all of it's my name. So that keeps it easy. Facebook even, though I have 2 Facebooks. I have just Aurora Luna and I have Aurora Luna Star. But anyway, it's, the invitation is going to be that if you're choosing to work with me, you are choosing empowerment. So just know that you need to be ready for your next. Not ready is the wrong word. You're already ready. Everyone is. They just don't know they are. But you have to want it, right? So if you want it, I am open to working with you. And if you just want to do a galactic Akashic reading, that's fun too.
The dopamine hit.
Yeah. It's like 50%. 50% dopamine, 50%, reality check.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aurora. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie and Nikki. Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you for joining us in this sacred circle.
If today's conversation moved something in you, share it, journal it, or bring it into your next moment of love.
And remember, you're not alone. Z is here to support your journey anytime you need her.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and stay true.
With love, always.